The following announcement has been paid for by the New World Order.
It was also around this match that voiceover guy started chiming in on matches.
Loser.
Loser.
Steven Seagal and Jean-Claude Van Damme are jokes, but Master 6 is the real deal. It used to really piss Bischoff off, growing up hearing people take a couple YMCA classes and then call themselves a black belt. Then the next time you see them, they get their asses kicked by a woman and make the whole genre look bad. But Master 6, he's the real McCoy.
And this, ladies and gentlemen, is why I don't like streaming services. This is why I want to go back to the physicals. If I have my physical copy, you can't go in and...
With it.
Yeah.
And they cut to two silhouettes. One is barely moving. It's pathetic. Well, we go from one steaming pile of shit to another. To a wrestling rewind.
The retro review.
And this week is Sold Out 97. NWO Sold Out, to be exact. And we're coming off perhaps the best pay-per-view top to bottom that we've reviewed so far. Hogan lost to Piper, but still pulled a fast one over everybody and retained his title. And the NWO is stronger than ever. So what's the perfect symbol of strength and dominance? Dump trucks.
Is that what those things were?
Yep.
Okay.
So we're on the streets of Cedar Rapids, Iowa. It's snowing. And Bischoff and Hall are riding in the back of dump trucks, and they're shouting back and forth over how badass they are riding on the back of a truck in the middle of the winter. Master 6 is showing off his cat-like agility by running alongside the dump trucks. And there's one limo, presumably Hogan is in it. Everyone outside riding in dump trucks freezing their asses off, but Hogan's sipping on Cristal in the limo. And lots of sirens and NWO flags. Master 6 says NWO is going to change the wrestling world. Hogan sneaks in with everybody as if he was, walking with them, pretending to be all cold and shit. I thought Hogan called Bischoff the Dallas Cowboys, but it turns out that the Dallas Cowboys were indeed there. Didn't it sound like he called the Bischoff the Dallas Cowboys?
Yeah.
Okay. Bischoff says Hogan always delivers, and NWO hoot and holler for a while. Then Bischoff says it's time to address the masses. And this is when we learn that they fucking colorized this pay-per-view.
And this, ladies and gentlemen, is why I don't like streaming services. This is why I want to go back to the physicals. See? This is why. Right there.
Yep.
If I have my physical copy, you can't go in and...
fuck with it.
Yeah.
It's a shitty pay-per-view anyway. Putting color on it's not going to help.
I will say with that opening that was in black and white, I was like, oh boy, this is going to be a long pay-per-view.
I know. I was waiting this whole time for this pay-per-view because I know how much you love black and white shit. I was really wanting to see how you thought of this, and it was ruined. It's probably Vince's idea. So they played a jumbled up clip of various NWO members saying one-liners, and Bischoff has clearly taken more of a spotlight for himself. And he's speaking like he's doing a guerrilla press conference. He says that the NWO is in control. And to those that have joined us, thank you, one and all. And to those who have decided to oppose us tonight, what the hell were you thinking? And the pay-per-view starts. There's an NWO Titantron, and the ring has NWO canvas. So there's a strong NWO theme. They've completely taken over this pay-per-view. And Bischoff introduces Hogan and the Outsiders, and all three of men appear via video. Hogan says WCW will cease to exist tonight. NWO is for life, and as the Outsiders would say, sold out. Hall says that they're kicking it to Bischoff and DiBiase, and then Nash keeps repeating sold out in a weird voice. And Bischoff and DiBiase are indeed on commentary. Miss Elizabeth is also there. I think that's her only appearance. And Bischoff tells her to take his leather jacket off so he can put on another one. And then DiBiase has issues with his headset. This is going to be a good pay-per-view. Kicking off the night is Chris Jericho and Masahiro Chono. Masahiro Chono's from New Japan, and he was recently signed to WCW to kick off their Japan division. I don't know what the fuck their end game with that was, but they were excited. Jericho is announced as the first challenger from somewhere north of the border. Chris, I should have stayed with Hockey Jericho. Jericho says he doesn't want music at this show, and Chono apparently shocked the wrestling world by signing with WCW. And Bischoff says more to come in a bad Japanese accent.
Yeah.
And Nick Patrick is in the ring, and he has an NWO shirt and a hat and a scowl. And there's a 5 and a 3 sitting on a couple Harleys that Bischoff says is too sweet. And WCW wrestlers show up in the stands to sit with the fans. And the match starts, and Jericho actually made a valiant effort, but he couldn't overcome Chono's offense and Patrick's slow counting. And Jericho gets sent through a tiny table on the outside. Chono ends up winning with a mafia kick. And they plugged a Miss NWO contest saying how much harder the questions will be than the Miss America contest. A sample of the types of questions we can expect is, what city are you from? Won't get those hard-hitting questions from Miss America.
I thought it was creative, I would say, that the babyface didn't get any music, but the heel did.
Yeah, it made sense.
Except for the fact that, I don't know, it's like the El generic version of the NWO theme. It's like the royalty-free version of the thing.
Yeah, Hogan's not using Hendrix yet.
He's not.
Well, they did cut to Mongo McMichael sitting in the stands, and he was all kinds of disgusted. But yeah, it was just a match.
Yeah, it was kind of just there.
So Bischoff and DiBiase talk about the Miss NWO contest some more. They briefly show a couple 3s and 4s who are apparently contestants. Bischoff says the NWO is changing the world, and a lot of women wanted to be a part of the Miss NWO contest. And here's the ones that didn't make it. They show pictures of various ladies. It was a mixed bag. And then some awkward fuck asks the contestants Miss NWO questions. The fuck asks a 4 what NWO going all the way means to her. And she either says Falacia or Malaysia. Don't know.
My caption said Malaysia.
Okay. So going all the way with NWO means Malaysia to the 4. So then the awkward fuck says, oh my, is that it? And the 4 says, so far. And the fuck says, she's a quiet woman, but that might be what it takes to win Miss NWO. So then the fuck moves on to a 3 and asks what she would do to tame Big Kevin Nash. The 3 says anything it takes. The fuck wants details. The 3 isn't having any of that. So the fuck calls her a minx. So then the fuck says this is going to go on all night. And Bischoff said this feels like a party, not work. Oh,
they weren't kidding. It was going on all night.
Yes.
And my question is, was this like purposefully that they chose such women?
I don't know. Well, I think that was just happened to be the people that entered. I think the criteria was ladies with motorcycles.
And that's what they came up with. Okay. I was like, is this a part of it? It's like, oh, we got the most beautiful women, and then that's what they show up with. But then Bischoff kept pushing the criteria is you got to have a bike. So maybe he's into that. I don't know. But it's like maybe that's part of the character. Is he wants some biker babe that looks rough.
Like a biker dude.
Beauty's in the eye of the beholder, of course. As long as I'm not having sex with him.
Well, Hugh Morris and Bubba Rogers didn't have sex, but they had a Mexican death match. And Rogers is NWO now, I guess. And Morris is introduced as someone whose face is funnier than his laugh. And Rogers is introduced as Big Bubba, who should flatten Conan like a Mexican tortilla in no time. And the 4 from earlier says yeah into the camera. They all looked like hostages. They were just sitting awkwardly, just kind of staring at the Titantron.
They were paid to be there.
Yeah. Bischoff takes a moment to address Savage, saying he's not welcome in WCW as far as employment is concerned. Apparently, Savage had to sit down at the start of a Nitro and is making claims about being blackballed.
Well, he did keep bringing that up. Macho Man is not wanted here, and he left the company and all this stuff.
And Piper will never get another title shot.
Yeah, they tried to throw on their weight. It's like, golly.
Well, Morris ends up throwing Rogers into the steel steps, and Patrick gets his face into the camera to say if Morris keeps it up, he's sending him out of here. There's rules around here. And Rogers gets handcuffs from his jacket that's hanging in the corner, and Hart kicks Bubba when he's down on the ground, because, of course, Jimmy Hart has to be there. Although I did notice he didn't have his megaphone, so he's learning.
He didn't.
Rogers gets a chain from his jacket and obliterates Morris. Patrick asks Rogers if Morris brought the chain in the ring. Rogers says, yeah, he brought it in the ring, but I'm going to use it. And Morris gets the chain away from Bubba and nails him with it. And then Morris hits the no laughing matter. And instead of going for the pin, he just celebrates. Now, Nick Patrick has to count to 10. That's why he celebrated. Yeah, this is where you got to get in the ring and they got to count to 10 and shit.
No, that was WWE.
Oh, that's right.
But this
Okay.
one was just,
For a
you had
10
to beat the 10 count. But yeah, it wasn't until this moment that it really started to enact on that whole
Okay.
thing.
But it was just really weird just seeing him celebrate. I wish they would have explained the rules. You're right.
Yeah, I heard the Mexican deathmatch thing, but up until that moment, I didn't know it was also last man standing.
Right. I didn't know that was the Mexican death part.
Yeah.
Patrick starts his count over after yelling at Jimmy Hart. And then Patrick starts fanning and slapping Rogers to get him to wake up. Morris is pissed off and he backs off Patrick. And then Rogers comes to, saves Patrick, and gets knocked out again. Morris stops the count to threaten Patrick for no reason. And then Morris and Rogers fight to the entrance ramp. Morris tries a no laughing matter from the stairs set up by the entrance ramp. At least I think that's what it was supposed to be.
Yeah. Now, what was funny to me is he pointed up like he was going to go up high, and then he just like went up 3 steps.
Yeah.
Like he had a change of heart. Because at first I thought, well, there's no way he's going to
Clear all that.
clear all those steps. Yeah. So I was like, maybe he's going to like go on top of something. You'd have to jump out so far to clear that. But no, he only went up 3 steps.
Well,
And
Rogers
then
rolls out of the way of the no laughing matter, and he takes the Four's motorcycle. Rogers then rams Morris with the motorcycle. Rogers runs back to the ring, and then Patrick counts to 10, and Rogers wins whatever this was.
Very fast count, too.
Very fast count. And Nick Patrick's facials were great. Like the fast count at the end was perfect. Bubba and Nick Patrick hugging at the end was great. It looks like Nick Patrick praised Bubba for running him over. Like, oh, that was a good idea.
Yeah, he said, that was a good one.
Yeah. The awkward fuck is back with the Miss NWO shit. And he's with a 5 who he asks what she would do to be in one of Hulk Hogan's movies. And the 5 says, whatever it takes. Like, are you fucking kidding me? And at least Bischoff called that shit out. Because, like,
Yeah,
oh,
he's like, that's the last one said that.
The fuck says he likes the 5. And the fuck goes over to another 5. And he says that he has $1.50. What's her price? And the other 5 says that he would walk away with a bill.
A big bill. And then he said something about, oh,
Big
there's
bill.
a joke I can make there, but I'm not gonna.
Yeah, oh, I'm not going to say what I wanted to say. And the fuck is sweating like a rabid pig, by the way. And the fuck says, stay tuned for more riveting Miss NWO bullshit. And the other 5 dances or has a seizure. I couldn't tell. I'm at the edge of my seat with this Miss NWO contest. I don't know about you. So after that, Bischoff raves about dancers they were able to get. And then they cut to 2 silhouettes. One is barely moving. It's pathetic. Bischoff says history is being made. DiBiase says nobody does it like the NWO. WCW, take notes. NWO also has a website that I remember going to many times.
Like 1 megapixel.
Right?
I was like, golly, that's how our internet pages look like.
It's almost unrecognizable.
Yeah. They didn't know anything about SEO back then.
Right? Well, up next is Jeff Jarrett versus IRS. And Patrick came out, and I thought he was going to have another match because they did the music, and he just starts walking out after Jarrett made his entrance. So I love how this match started. IRS and Jarrett lock up. IRS backs Jarrett into the corner. Patrick breaks them up, and IRS nails Jarrett with a closed fist. So Jarrett, of course, gets pissed off, has to be calmed down by Patrick. So they do it again, but this time Jarrett backs IRS in the corner. But when Jarrett is about to give IRS a taste of his own medicine, Patrick grabs Jarrett's arm and backs him off. So it's obvious that this is not a fair fight right off the bat. Brilliant. Then Patrick brings both men into the middle of the ring and specifically tells Jarrett that he wants them to wrestle. This isn't a fist fight. IRS is nodding behind him like, yeah, you tell him. Jarrett blatantly chokes IRS while he has him hung up on the ropes. Patrick yells at him and Jarrett says, I've got to 5. I know what I'm doing. Then Jarrett shoots in the ropes to do like that sitting guillotine move the Undertaker does. But Patrick pushes IRS out of the way, so Jarrett gets crotched. Brilliant. And then Jarrett gets knocked out of the ring and acts like he hits his face on the guardrail. and a fan in front of him tells him to get up and fight like a man and actually starts pushing him up. Jarrett gets IRS in a figure 4 leg lock, and Patrick drags him to the ropes. During the replay, DiBiase said he valiantly fought to the ropes.
Of course.
And Deborah, for some reason, gets emotional, drags Mongo out to nail IRS with the Halliburton attaché case. And then he says Patrick is next if he doesn't count the pin. Mongo pulls Jarrett up by his hair to celebrate afterward.
I believe they said on commentary they were telling some kind of story with the Horsemen where Deborah has a crush on Jarrett or something.
So Mongo's going to help Jarrett get his dick wet with his wife?
Yeah, she made him help.
I really want to fuck him, Steve.
Very much.
Okay.
It was also around, I think it was at this match that voiceover guy started chiming in on matches.
Loser.
Loser. I don't know if you said it, but the announcer to each match was the mysterious NWO voiceover guy.
I did not. And we're back with the awkward fuck and Miss NWO. And the fuck is with a 2 this time. And he wants to know what part of the 2's anatomy would best help her win Miss NWO. And the 2 says probably her feet. Fuck says creative answer, but not what he was hoping for. Then he moves on to Grandma, who can't hear properly. The fuck asks Granny what she would do to buff Bagwell's biceps. She didn't hear any of it. And the fuck makes a bad hearing aid joke. Then we rock on to the silhouette dancers again. This is fucking pathetic. It's like they don't know what good women look like.
Yeah, that's what I was asking. Was that like part of the shtick, or
I just think
this was actually they thought this was a good choice. These women were good choices.
If I had to guess, it would just happen to be what they had. Because I mean, they have Miss Elizabeth. They have to know what a decent looking woman looks like, right? Deborah's there.
Medusa, she's about to go get those gigantos.
Yeah, Bull Nakano.
Okay.
American Males loser Scotty Riggs versus Buff Bagwell. And Riggs comes out saying it's going to be WCW forever. And Bagwell's biceps are so big, Nick Patrick needs to help him get his ridiculous looking vest off. Buff won with a blockbuster, and I honestly didn't care one iota about this match. They had the NWO guy piping loser every so often. This is when they really started ramping it up. And they abused the periscope camera thing, whatever the fuck it was called.
That overhead camera, yeah.
Yeah, it's cool like when they do 1 or 2 shots with it earlier, but the whole match was basically that fucking angle. It was awful.
Yeah, they showed the blockbuster from that angle.
Yeah.
The first time.
Buff was a good clueless heel. He said the crowd loved him when they were obviously saying that he sucked. And then some girls dance on the stage in the least sexy way possible. And Buff dances with one of them, and Bischoff alludes to Bagwell having been a porn star.
I will say, he was actually one of my favorite NWO members. Not right now, but he will turn into it. Like when he starts doing the dance thing. His like over-the-top strut.
His little pose.
It's like a...
He swims with his arms and then poses.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When he's doing that, he's like one of my low-key favorites. Outside of the main guys, of course, but
I enjoyed the blockbuster. There's always something about him that it always seemed like he had herpes or something.
Well, they were really pushing his pretty gimmick part. Oh, he's so handsome. Look at those muscles.
Well, we get more Miss NWO bullshit. The awkward fuck thankfully tells us we're just about done with all this horse shit. But first, the fuck asks a 1 what she would wear to dress up with Virgil. The 1 can't hear a thing, so the fuck repeats the questions and throws in suggestions like sexy lingerie. Ugh. The 1 says, sure, why not? And the fuck says, ooh, she's open to it, folks. And then the fuck moves on to a 7. Like, why hasn't she immediately won, is what I wrote. And then the fuck asks the 7 if she'll stop Scott's flashing problem or help it. 7 hopes that she adds to the problem, and the fuck nuts in his pants.
I don't know. Because it comes quick. This is what they were getting at there.
A DDP versus Scott Norton. Norton pretty much beats the shit out of Page. Sting shows up in the stands just to stand. Bagwell, Vince, Bubba, and IRS come out to recruit DDP in the middle of the match, even though he refused repeatedly. Page agrees to join the NWO. Everyone's high-fiving. Then Page diamond cuts Norton and then decks everyone and runs out through the fans, tearing off the NWO shirt and saying, "Bang!"
And let it be
Bagwell,
known, Norton was never on board with it because
he was not.
He was in the middle of fighting him.
He was in the middle of whooping that ass.
Yeah. He's like, I don't want him in yet. Let me finish this.
Yeah. Bagwell vows that DDP will never be a part of the NWO. And Patrick declares Norton the winner by countout.
So far, NWO has won every match except for one.
Yes. And we have Miss NWO bullshit. The fuck asks the 4 during the replay what her favorite maneuver is and how to apply it. The 4 says she'd show him, but there's children watching. The fuck gives the 4 his hotel room number. Then the fuck asks a 3 what she'd do to make Masahiro Chono more comfortable in the United States. The 3 says anything he wants, just as long as there's chopsticks. Steiner Brothers versus the Outsiders for the tag team titles. Not a bad match at all, although I thought the Outsiders versus Faces of Fear was better. The Outsiders pretty much ran away with the entire match by double teaming and using Patrick's bias. Nash spits on Steiner while he's in the corner, giving Rick enough time to hit him in the balls. So Steiner gets Hall up for the Steiner Bulldog, but Nash hits Rick, who had Hall on his shoulders. Patrick gets bumped from all that, so he flops out of the ring. Then Hall hits Steiner with a Razor's Edge, but Patrick's knocked out, so we don't get the pin. Finally, a decent Razor's Edge, but no pin. Rick and Nash fight on the floor, with Rick ramming Nash into the ring post. Hall's confused as fuck. Rick gets on the top ropes, and he hits a Bulldog onto Hall. Rick pulls Scott on top of Hall. Then Randy Anderson comes from the stands to count the pin. DiBiase and Bischoff are livid. He's not sanctioned! People throw garbage in the ring, while the Steiners celebrate. And Bischoff is going to go to the executive committee to have the decision reversed immediately.
Yep. It was a good match, though. I like how they did the Steiner Brothers cheated. They attacked the ref. Even though it was the Outsiders who did it.
I liked it too. I didn't like the idea of the ref coming from the stands.
Yeah. I always like the run-in ref, but before the run-in, there's probably some bullshit that happened, and he's just like ignoring all that. They see someone like get hit with the belt, and then they make the pin, and then there's no one to count. Then ref runs out. Well, you
just saw the shit before that. Yeah,
you just saw that illegal object.
It's not like the match starts when you get in the ring. Yeah, that makes sense.
But I can overlook that for dramatizations.
Mexican jumping bean Eddie Guerrero versus Master 6 for the U.S. title. And it's a ladder match. Eddie gets the jump early, but 6 is able to hold his own thanks to his karate. Bischoff goes on a long soliloquy about how Steven Seagal and Jean-Claude Van Damme are jokes, but Master 6 is the real deal. It used to really piss Bischoff off growing up hearing people take a couple YMCA classes and then call themselves a black belt. And then next time you see them, they get their asses kicked by a woman and make the whole genre look bad. But Master 6, he's the real McCoy.
I remember the YMCA line, but I didn't follow who he was talking about. I had thought he was saying 6 is such a master black belt. He took some classes at the YMCA. Speaking of the YMCA thing, one of my favorite Martin episodes was when the person broke into the house.
Oh, the self-defense one?
Yeah. And he's like, Gina, you got to be over here learning this stuff. And she said, I'm okay. I took karate classes at the YMCA. And he was like, well, damn, we ain't fighting the village people.
6 did a kick to Eddie's head from the top of the ladder. Both men fell, but 6 totally got the worst of it because he just went face first into the mat. So they climb the ladder again, then start punching each other. Eddie falls off the ladder, but lands on the ropes, then bounces back onto the ladder, knocking 6 off the ladder. It's a lot of times to say ladder. They climb up the ladder a third time. Bischoff tells 6 to do it for Alice in Chains. And then 6 and Eddie get the belt at the same time. They play tug of war for a little bit. Then Eddie nails 6 with the title. The title falls with 6, but Eddie climbs down to snatch it up anyway, and he's declared the winner. Now, the best part of this whole thing was Nick Patrick, because you would have thought Nick Patrick lost everything he ever loved the moment that Eddie won. He grabs his head. He's all sad. He slowly rings the bell. He's fucking just irate. This
Yeah,
is
he
Nick
lost his
Patrick's
shit.
pay-per-view. He's the fucking star.
Well, he really was. Because,
Yeah.
first of all, shout out to him reffing the whole night.
Right?
That was a thing in itself. But yeah, Eddie Guerrero won. He was like, damn it, I have to call this. There's no way around it.
Well, Eddie tells Eric to kiss his ass, and then he leaps through the crowd. And then Bischoff says a new solid gold belt is going to be made just for Master 6 after he straightens out the Steiner Brothers situation.
Yep, I got 2 things to take care of.
So we're on our Miss NWO finals, thank Christ. The awkward fuck asked the crowd to cheer for the homely bitch they liked the most. And it sounded like they got a couple jeers instead of cheers. Then the awkward fuck tells us that that exercise was completely pointless because Bischoff gets to decide the final winner. So after saying a whole bunch of nothing, Bischoff says that there's a tie. And he says he's going to ask each one just one question. And whoever has the best answer wins.
But oh, by the way,
Yeah. Bischoff has to think about the question on the spot instead of, having a prepared question like a professional would. And then Bischoff says he's going to whisper the question so only he and the contestant know what it is. What kind of Mormon bullshit is this?
yeah, this makes great television, by the way.
You make us sit through all this bullshit and we don't even get to hear the spicy questions.
Yeah, and she whispers the answer back to him.
So Bischoff picks the 2 ugliest bitches of the group, and they whisper into each other's ears. The ugliest of the semifinalists win. Then Bischoff kisses her twice. And I wrote, what the fuck is this? Then this pig with lipstick trots around the ring with flowers, a tiara, and an NWO sash. Then she sits on an NWO shitter. And for some reason, DiBiase still speaks to Bischoff after this. Then Bischoff tries to make a beautiful on the inside joke, like he didn't just have her tongue down his throat. Ultimate guy that would fuck another guy and then call that guy a queer. Ugh, I got the taste of your semen on my tongue. You're so gay. Anyway, that was Bischoff. So after that, the Giant faces Hollywood Hulk Hogan for the heavyweight title of WCW. And Bischoff claims that this is the first time we see pyro to music. He played tonsil hockey with a orangutan. I can't take anything he says seriously. And I thought Hogan just came out with a couple black dudes and Vince. And turns out that was the Dallas Cowboys.
Yeah, no one I had recognized. They weren't the best team.
Yeah. George Teague was the only one that I recognized by name. The only one I knew by face was Virgil. Tells you how up to date I am on my Dallas Cowboys.
But it was good to note that apparently the Super Bowl has gone on and the Patriots were in the Super Bowl.
Patriots and Packers. Oh, this was Brett Favre.
It's Brett Favre?
Yeah, this was Brett Favre's Super Bowl.
Ah.
It was 97. Yeah, Brett Favre. So this is
history there.
Yeah. It'd be interesting to kind of listen for those little nuggets. Like, oh, the Patriots just hired that Belichick guy. Ah.
Yeah,
good
just
luck with that.
I remember a couple pay-per-views ago, they were like, you'll never be back-to-back champions like the Dallas Cowboys. It's like, oh, unfortunately, we'll never be it again either.
Well, as far as the match, this was pretty much a Giant Hogan match. Was this like their 3rd or 4th time wrestling?
Something like that, I think, yeah.
Hogan used powder on Giant's eyes, then started eye poking and back raking him. And Hogan strangled Giant with his wrist tape. Giant went for a top rope elbow drop and missed. Stupid. The WCW wrestlers were doing a good job firing up the crowd. You could see Knobs and Stevie Ray and or Booker jumping in the back screaming, Giant, Giant, Giant. It's a nice little visual. And Hogan slams the Giant and hits his atomic leg drop. Hogan immediately gets up and starts celebrating because that's what we do in this era, apparently. And Giant no-sells the leg drop. So Hogan takes an opportunity to cup his ears and celebrate with the crowd on each side of the ring, failing to realize that a 7-foot man is no longer unconscious in the middle of the ring. So Hogan gets chokeslammed. Nick Patrick goes to count the pin, then stops. He says that the lifeless Hogan rolled his shoulders up. So then Giant puts his weight onto both of Hogan's shoulders and tells Patrick to count. Patrick counts to 2, then stops again, saying Hogan rolled his shoulders up. Giant hooks Hogan's leg. He looked like an idiot. Like at this
Yeah,
point,
that he kept going for it.
yeah, like okay, at this point that's not gonna work. So Patrick, of course, counts to 2, says Hogan kicked out. Giant finally has had enough, and he choke slams the star of the show, Nick Patrick. And Bischoff says, "I gotta go save Hollywood." Bagwell runs in, and he gets choke slammed. Bischoff runs to ringside, hands Hogan a guitar. Virgil, IRS, Bubba, and Master 6 are all choke slammed. Hogan destroys Giant with a guitar. Hogan then gets a wooden folding chair because he saw Kevin Sullivan use it and said, "Oh, that looks cool, brother." So he breaks it over Giant's back. Hogan spray paints NWO on Giant's back. The crowd screams at the top of their lungs, "We want Sting." Hogan and the NWO celebrate over Giant's unconscious body. Hogan says, "Who's next?" What a steaming pile of shit. The matches were unimportant, and or we've seen them all. There were no stakes because even though like the NWO guys lost, Bischoff just said, "Oh, we're going to reverse it." There's that Miss NWO fuckatry.
Yeah, I like the concept of the whole thing, but yeah, it all felt like it was one-sided because the NWO was going to win each match, especially with Nick Patrick as referee. There were moments throughout the night I did like, but I don't know.
Can't think of any right now.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of one. Oh, what about the Giant? The whole Giant thing. Oh, by the way, Hogan like pulled his pants all the way down, like under his cheeks when he was gonna spray paint him. So much so that Hull pulled his pants back up.
We're about to get to a felony, brother.
Yeah.
I know Buff Bagwell was the only ass I remember seeing.
Oh yeah, his too, with his little neon green thong.
It wasn't a thong, that was a tan line.
Was it? Golly.
Yeah. So on the next Nitro, Eric Bischoff fired Randy Anderson for counting the pinfall victory for the Steiner brothers that sold out, and he stripped the Steiner brothers of their tag team titles. Bischoff then returned the titles to the Outsiders that very night. Giant defeated Roadblock, some WCW guy, and then he challenged Hollywood Hogan to another title match. Lex Luger declared his intent on siding with the Giant against the NWO. Hogan was disqualified after the Outsiders interfered, but Luger came to side with the Giant, and that set up a title defense for the Outsiders against Luger and Giant at Super Brawl 7. Hogan challenged Piper, even though Bischoff said that Piper will never ever get a match. Hogan just said, "Yeah, we're going to get a match, brother." And it was on Nitro. Hogan said he'll put up his belt this time. They're not going to pull a fast one on us. And later that night, Piper and Hogan had a confrontation where Piper tried to just leave, but Hogan insulted Piper in front of his son, Colt. And after helping his son out of the ring, Piper stood up to Hogan and accepted the challenge for the match at Super Brawl. So we got Outsiders and Luger and Giant, and we got Hogan and Piper, too. But before that is WrestleMania 15. And this took place in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, ironically enough. First Union Center. It features Rock and Stone Cold for the WWF title.
The first round? It's going to be a good one.
Yep. And this could be traced back to approximately a year when Austin won the 98 Royal Rumble. McMahon made it clear he was not happy with Austin's cursing, beer drinking, and don't give a fuck attitude. He wants more of a company man. He wants him to act like it should he win the WWF championship. But when he did, he didn't change. So McMahon set on a 6-month-long quest to dethrone Austin as champion, which McMahon eventually succeeded when he had a handicap match between Austin and the Brothers of Destruction. And the stipulation was that Kane and Undertaker couldn't pin each other. But because both of them...
Kane won it for one night?
No, because this is when they both pinned Austin at the same time.
Oh, okay.
And the belt was vacated. Undertaker and Kane ended up fighting again. So that didn't work out. And then there was a tournament scheduled for Survivor Series. And turned out The Rock, not Mankind, was McMahon's choice for the winner. I don't know if that was the I Quit match or not. Well, Austin, he lost in a match.
I think that was at the Rumble.
Was it Rumble?
I think so.
Austin lost a match when Shane McMahon refused to count as when he was a special guest referee. So yeah, that set up Rock and Stone Cold via McMahon. And this is also the $100,000 bounty when Austin stunned everybody. I think McMahon, he ended up winning the Royal Rumble. He made Austin number 1. He made himself last, but he pissed off Shawn Michaels, who was the commissioner. So Shawn made him number 2.
Okay.
Yep, that's our main event. We also have Undertaker versus Big Boss Man in a Hell in the Cell match. It's the Mania debut of Hell in the Cell. And we have Shane McMahon versus X-Pac for the European Championship. We have Butterbean annihilating Bart Gunn for the Brawl for All finale. And there's Billy Gunn versus Al Snow versus Bob Holly for the Hardcore title.
Oh, that's a good one.
It might be, but that is next week.
Should be some entertaining stuff. But if you disagree with anything, let us know in the comments. If you agree with anything, let us know in the comments. Don't forget to hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. Follow us on all the social medias. And until tomorrow, top guys.